I fell in love with my sister's friend and I have a girlfriend. My sister is very social, really social. She likes going to parties and hosting girls' nights. When that happens, I usually bring food and drinks to my room so I don't have to go in and out. It's not that I'm embarrassed. I just respect her space the same way she respects mine. I know her college friends because she brings them over often, but this time I saw someone I had never seen before. Honestly, it didn't matter to me. It's not like I'm attracted to 19-year-olds. I'm 26 and I have a girlfriend. It was just curious to see new faces. It seemed like a normal night, karaoke, secrets, games. My parents weren't home. They trust us, so there's no issue. My bathroom is at the end of the hallway. I have the biggest bedroom, but not the one with a bathroom. I walked out of my room like any guy relaxing at home on a Saturday, wearing pajamas. I locked my door and was about to open the bathroom door when surprise, the new friend of my sister walked out. Redhead, slim, green eyes, skin full of freckles, but she came out crying. She looked at me, wiped her tears, and said, "Sorry, the downstairs bathroom was occupied." I just replied, "No problem." She looked at me again and wiped her tears. She raised her gaze when I asked if everything was okay. She didn't answer right away. She pressed her lips together, like she was deciding whether it was worth answering honestly or just giving the easy response. "Yeah, well," she said, "I think so." She leaned lightly against the hallway wall, not invading my space, but not moving away either. "It's nothing serious," she added quickly, as if trying to close the subject. "Just, sometimes a fun night feels heavier than it should." She looked at me for another second, searching for my reaction. "Sorry," she said after that. "I shouldn't be telling you this. I don't even know you." When I asked her name, she stayed quiet for a second. Not because of mystery, more like she hadn't expected the question. She straightened up slightly, as if pulling herself together. She said, "I'm Emma." She said it plainly, without emphasis, and didn't move from the hallway. "Yeah, I'm new," she added. "I just started this semester. Your sister insisted I come tonight." She glanced toward the stairs, then back at me, and, "Sorry for surprising you," she said with a tired half-smile. I didn't know this bathroom was barely used. There was a short silence, not uncomfortable, expectant. "You must be her brother," she added. "She mentioned you, but not much." It didn't sound accusatory. It sounded curious. She listened to what I said and looked down for a second. She didn't seem offended. If anything, it eased some weight off her shoulders, like she was grateful I wasn't pressuring her. She brushed her hair behind her ear and took a breath. "Thank you," she said, "really." When I mentioned I could use another bathroom, she looked up quickly, almost instinctively. "No, no," she said right away. "It's not that bad. I'm fine." But she didn't move. She didn't go back to the living room. She stayed there in the middle of the long hallway, surrounded by silence. "It's just," she continued, hesitating. "Sometimes you need to step away for a moment, that's all." She paused, then looked at me again, calmer this time. "I'm not taking up your time, am I?" She didn't sound flirty. She sounded insecure, like someone who didn't want to be one more inconvenience that night. I told her she wasn't taking my time, even let out a short laugh to lighten things. The hallway stayed quiet, only the distant echo of music downstairs. When I asked if I could help with anything, she blinked a couple of times, surprised by my calm tone. She didn't answer right away. She crossed her arms, not defensively, more like protecting herself, and tilted her head slightly. "Yeah," she said finally, "you can ask." She said it slowly, without rush, as if accepting staying a little longer in that in-between space. She looked at me attentively, waiting. She didn't seem nervous, but she was open. I asked why she was crying, and before she could answer, I told her it was okay if she didn't want to say. I didn't pressure her. I left the exit open. She lowered her gaze. She didn't answer immediately. She let out a very quiet laugh, humorless, and shook her head. "It's stupid," she said first. Then she went silent. The hallway felt even longer. She sighed, like she had decided it didn't matter anymore. We were singing. She added, "Karaoke." She shrugged slightly. "I don't sing well, I never have, but—" She paused. They started laughing. Not in a mean way, I guess, but enough. She pressed her lips together. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I felt really out of place. She looked up at me like she was waiting for judgment. No tears now. Just something raw. "I didn't leave because of the song," she said. I left because I realized I was pretending to have fun. Silence. She didn't move. She didn't run. She didn't justify herself further. She just waited. I responded calmly, not like a big speech, just like someone who's seen that kind of cruelty before. I didn't look at her like I was saving her. I looked at her like I was stating something obvious, but necessary. She listened without interrupting. At first she held herself steady, but when I mentioned at your age, something changed. She didn't get offended. She didn't shut down. Her shoulders lowered slightly, like she stopped holding up an armor she didn't even realize she was wearing. I know, she said. That's what I always tell myself. But she didn't sound convinced. She stared at the hallway floor, tracing an invisible line with her foot. The problem, she continued, is that sometimes you don't realize how much it matters, until it already mattered. She looked up at me, not for approval, but for truth. It's not that laughing hurts, she added. It's that I thought this time would be different. Silence, no tears now, something worse. Clarity, thank you for saying that. She said finally, not everyone talks like that without trying to fix you. She didn't smile. But she felt more present. I started telling her not to go back down if she didn't feel okay. My voice was firm, honest. I offered that she could stay there. And right when I was about to say something else, I stopped. She noticed the hesitation, not because it was obvious, but because she stopped looking away and lifted her eyes at that exact suspended second. I corrected myself, adjusted my words. I said she could stay there. Or leave, that she didn't have to tolerate anything that made her feel bad, not even from my sister. When I mentioned my sister, she frowned slightly. It's not your fault, she said quickly, and it's not like she treats me badly. She went quiet. Then added more slowly, but thank you for saying it. She looked at me differently now, not vulnerable like before, aware. She understood what I almost said, and she understood what I didn't say. I didn't know someone could say something like that without expecting anything, she continued. She took a small step back, not moving away from me, just organizing the space between us. That says a lot about you. Silence, not uncomfortable, heavy. I'm going to stay a moment, she said at last. Here, just breathing. She didn't ask permission. She didn't invade. She just stayed. When she moved a little closer, I noticed it. Not strong, not dirty. Just a faint smell of alcohol. Enough to explain why her emotions were so close to the surface. I spoke with slight nervousness, not fear, but because I knew this moment mattered. I suggested sitting there on the hallway floor. I sat first, leaning against the cold wall. She hesitated for barely a second, then sat across from me, her back against the opposite wall. Her legs stayed together, knees bent. She was wearing a pink skirt. I looked away immediately, not exaggerated discomfort, just automatic respect. I knew this wasn't a moment to misread. She didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't think about it. She leaned forward slightly, resting her forearms on her knees. Her eyes were glossy. Not crying again, but close. Sorry, she said quietly. I think I drank more than I should have. It didn't sound irresponsible. It sounded honest. She stayed quiet for a few seconds, breathing slowly. Then she looked up at me, not like someone looking for something, but like someone who didn't want to fall alone. Thank you for not looking at me weird, she added. Or treating me like a problem. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It was comfortable in a dangerous way. She wrapped her arms around her legs, protecting herself. I don't usually do this, she said. Sitting like this, talking to someone I barely know. She looked straight at me now, but with you it feels calm. That's where the tension was, not in the body, in the meaning. I looked at her without fully avoiding her gaze for the first time. Not long, not invasive, just honest. And when I spoke, I did it slower than usual. I told her I don't even talk to my sister's friends, that it's not my thing, that it never happens, and then I said it, that she was different. She didn't respond immediately. She blinked, stayed still. Like the words had landed somewhere she wasn't ready to receive anything. She looked down, then back up. Her lips parted slightly, but she didn't speak yet. Different how? She asked softly, not defensive, careful. She pulled her knees closer to her chest. The gesture was small, almost childlike. Her eyes were still wet, but she wasn't crying anymore. I don't want you to say that just because I'm not okay, she added. I don't want to be the different one because of that. She looked at me directly now, not waiting for a compliment, waiting for truth. The silence between us wasn't comfortable or uncomfortable. It was fragile. She took a deep breath, because if I'm different, she continued, I want to know why. I told her she was different because she was honest, because she opened up even with a stranger, because she knew how to say what she felt without dressing it up. My voice lowered slightly, not a thrown compliment, an observation, something I had thought before saying. She went completely still, didn't smile, didn't answer right away. She swallowed, small gesture, but I noticed. Her shoulders dropped just a bit, like the words took weight off her and put a different kind on. Not many people think that about me, she said quietly. She didn't look at me now. She looked at the space between us. That single meter of hallway that suddenly felt too short. She bit her lip without realizing it, then realized, and stopped. Most people say I talk too much, she added, or that I'm intense. She looked up again. This time she met my eyes, not seeking approval, measuring the moment, but with you. She paused. I didn't feel like I had to hide anything. The silence thickened, not awkward, heavy. She shifted her legs slightly, not opening them, just adjusting. Minimal movement, but enough to make both of us aware of our bodies without anyone doing anything. That scares me a little, she admitted, and not because of you. She held my gaze a second longer than before. Because of me? That was the real sexual, romantic tension, not desire, but possibility. I repeated her words slowly, because of you. It didn't sound interrogative, it sounded close. She didn't answer right away. She held my gaze this time, didn't look away, not challenging, recognizing. She nodded slightly, because of me, she said, because when I feel like this, I tend to say things I can't take back. She breathed in deeply. The air between us felt thicker, same hallway, different space, and because with you, she added softly, I don't feel like I have to pretend I'm okay. She shifted a little, not moving closer exactly, but enough for me to feel her presence more clearly. Her knees stayed together, her hands rested on them, no intention to provoke, but the effect was there. She swallowed. That doesn't happen to me often, she confessed, and not with someone I don't know. She glanced at my lips for a second. Just a second, then back to my eyes like she caught herself late. I don't want to misinterpret anything, she said quickly. I just wanted to be honest, silence, not awkward, the kind that settles in your chest. She didn't move closer, she didn't move away. Tell me if this is weird, she added. I can stand up right now. She wasn't saying it because she wanted to leave. She was giving me control. We stayed sitting on the floor, facing each other, the long hallway trapping the silence. The house was still alive downstairs, but up there it felt like time had shrunk. She didn't break eye contact after saying she was scared of feeling like this. She didn't move, didn't apologize, just breathe, slowly, like every breath was a decision. I did the same. At some point, without realizing it, I shifted slightly. I didn't move closer. I didn't move away, but my knee ended up a little closer to hers, still not touching. She noticed. I knew because her fingers tensed against the fabric of her skirt. Because her breathing changed just a bit, like when someone becomes aware of their own body. I don't want you to think that. She started, she stopped, shook her head, frustrated with herself, then looked up at me again directly. It's just that, she swallowed. I'm very aware of you. It wasn't a flirty line, it was uncomfortable, honest, real, and that's what made it dangerous. Without thinking too much, I placed one hand on the floor, closer to her than before. Not to touch her, just to steady myself, but the space between my hand and hers became ridiculously small. She looked down, her fingers brushed mine. It wasn't intentional, it wasn't rough. It was the kind of contact that could have gone unnoticed. If it hadn't meant so much, she didn't pull her hand away, neither did I. The contact lasted a second too long, 2, 3. When she finally moved her fingers, it wasn't to pull away. It was to adjust them on the floor, barely touching mine along the side. Minimal contact, maximum effect. I looked at her, she looked at me, her knees still together, her back against the wall, her eyes no longer bright from tears, but from something else, something that doesn't ask permission. This isn't a good idea, she said softly, but she didn't move, neither did I. The silence between us wasn't just emotional anymore, it was physical, the kind where you're painfully aware of breathing, warmth, how close you are without actually being close. She tilted her head slightly, like she was about to say something else, or do something worse, say nothing, and then that second happened, that exact second where it's no longer about intention, but decision. She looked at me like she already knew the answer. I thought about my girlfriend. I thought about how easy it would be to stand up. I thought about how hard it would be to forget this moment, and still, I didn't move.